Bombadil, we have an electric motor, and one of the nice things about electric motors, you can do regen out of it, and essentially that's the water pressure spinning the propeller, and then that generates electricity. Last summer we weren't able to use that at all. We tried a couple times but it was a old gory folding prop. They're not geared together at all, and so they just close down as you sail. From a racing perspective, they're lightweight, they're low drag, and that works good. It does make reverse a little weird sometimes because they're not, the two blades aren't hooked together, so you can actually have one open and one straight, and it'll just wobble weird. Normally you just have to like shut the engine off and then rev it back up, and hopefully they both pop. Actually, with our motor, we could go slow enough on RPMs that you could actually hear the top one fall down, and then you can hear it fall back open as it comes down, which is kind of interesting. So it did mean we have to motor a little bit faster than that to keep both of them engaged, to actually have motoring thrust. Because we like to sail and you have range considerations with an electric motor, we wanted something that was efficient still. So we were into feathering propellers to get regen and the motoring capability that we wanted. So we went with a Very Prop 3-blade, so it's a 14-inch diameter propeller. Yeah, it's and really I didn't do that much research on propellers. I was watching what was it, MJ Sailing, and they were building I think a hybrid catamaran, and they were talking about the propellers they were using so they could get regen. And their reasoning to go with Very Prop is the like center hub diameter is bigger, therefore like the gears are bigger and the base of the each blade is bigger, so it's going to take more abuse over time and have less play. So in theory, you actually spin the motor backwards as you're sailing forwards, and it sets the blades, and then they spin and they stay locked in reverse position, and you generate power that way for regen, and then you just go back forwards and then into neutral again, and it'll feather like this, and there's very little drag in the water. And so I did some research, and it did back up their claims, and so I said, yep, that sounds good for me. They are expensive propellers. That's I'm not gonna lie about that. They are expensive, but it's a long-term purchase. So yeah, we're excited to see the performance out of it. Hopefully it performs as we are expecting. So hopefully this week I can install the propeller. Yeah, we can be ready for launch. I think both Heather and I are very excited to be back on the boat. The cottage is nice, but we have fallen in love with living on the water and in a boat. So I have to tell you, I'm colder now than when I'm surfing.
That's fair.
I have a feathering propeller.
A few months back, we started the process to install our Autopilot, and one of the many things that Philip did was create and glass in this fiberglass reinforced plywood shelf that we were going to mount the Autopilot to. We finally had the last few pieces machined and purchased, so it was time to finish the install and get everything operational.
So this is a new Autopilot drive unit. This arm connects to the quadrant, which is out of the screen. This piece right here with the circle pattern is for the rudder feedback positioning unit, so then it knows where the rudder's at. So this is going to get swung out that way. So I just need to make sure that this is in the right spot before I drill the holes to bolt it all in. Both Heather and I are super excited to have an Autopilot this year, as it'll make trips much easier, and just if we do day sales, like when we take family out or friends, like it just makes it way easier that one of us isn't always steering and focusing on that. So here's the Autopilot. It's installed and attached to the quadrant. I still need to figure out mounting for the rudder feedback sensor and how to attach it onto this. So that's the next piece of the puzzle. For my rudder, I have the Autopilot. I have, let's see, this is 12 gauge marine wire, and then I have a spool of 16 gauge. So the 16 gauge, which is a smaller wire, is for the clutch, and then the larger wire is for the actual drive. So now I need to feed them out to the actual Autopilot unit. I've got my two wires. Feed them through. I have plenty of slack down here, so I can pull them out in under the gangway on the other side. Alright, so these are the two wires I just fed through. I'm going to pull them out. There's not lots of space to work down here. With the batteries gone, there's like party space. These wires are going to come across with this, and they're going to come down, and then they're going to go to here. So one's the drive unit, this is for the drive, and this is for the clutch. And so then the arm rotates, turning the rudder. Alright, so part of this process is I'm going to need tie-down blocks to allow me to route the wires. Well, I guess I don't need them. I'm going to put in tie-down blocks so that the wire routing is very neat and orderly, and it's something that I am happy with. Alright, so I now have routed the wire along there, and I have a loop, and it's fed back through the same hole. So now I get to pull the slack out of the two cables I ran and the encoder cable. Alright, we are back inside the hanging locker.
Now, I would love to show you the wiring being attached, but this is what all the footage looks like. And when you're wiring in a tiny closet, you don't really get a lot of choices on lighting and camera angles and things like that. But this was the end result, and then Philip could tackle the last item, which was attaching the rudder feedback sensor.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, that's even better. We're back to the Autopilot project. So I finally have the last piece made. I hope it fits. So this is the last piece, and really I have this for rudder feedback. As the way I mounted everything, I can't get the rudder feedback on the arm because of just how much rotation I have on my boat in the rudder. It's more than what Half Steering, who makes the drive, or Samurai, who renamed it, recommends. So therefore I need a way to get my rudder feedback sensor on, so I have this plate made up, and I'm hoping all the dimensions are right so that this will clamp on the top of that shaft, and I'll drill a hole over here where I need it to, and then it will give the feedback of where the rudder is. Alright, so here's the big piece, and I'm hoping it'll fit. Yeah, it fits like a glove. That's awesome. So now I just gotta kind of check the rudder sensor, feedback sensor, which is back a little ways. Make sure that's in the right spot. Kind of a nasty rainy day, so I'm trying not to soak my pants. Probably too late, but so, let's see. That should have. Well, that guy can snap on. There. And now I need to test the motion of what's going on and make sure that everything clears. So if I pull this centered, it looks somewhat centered. I need those pointing in the same direction, which they're not. I need to adjust this lower plate. And my butt is sopping wet. Oops, there's a camera.
We have a boat that's 50 years old and designed with racing in mind. There was absolutely no consideration on how someone might add an autopilot, and also no literature that we could find on how other people added a similar autopilot to our boat. We were basically flying blind, but in the end we hopefully have it all put together in a way that it will function.
Alright, so I now have moved it back and forth. I'm pretty sure I like where everything's at. So now I need to lock in this lower plate, which I loosened, which the bolts are in here, so I'll rotate it back. The other thing I need to do is there's some bolts on the rudder feedback sensor. I'll get a better image of that. That I need to tighten to lock that in, and there's some little witness marks, so I know where center is on the rudder and center on that. So I've been trying to line that up. So I'm gonna move this back to the center. Alright, so it's gonna be hard to see. Everybody see it, but there's bolts right here going around. And then I hold the rudder feedback sensor. There's a little witness mark here. I don't know how to get a good image of that, but that's all lined up. So I need to tighten these bolts so the sensor doesn't move. So there's 3 bolts holding this on. All 3 got to be tightened down. But I think there's 12 holes or something underneath that allow you to put this sensor any which direction you need to on the plate, which is nice. The rudder feedback sensor is right there. I don't know if you can see the alignment marks. I think they're there in front, right by the cable. Alright, I need to tighten this clamp up. And this is the plate that holds the rudder feedback sensor. So I don't want this to shift, because any shifting on this could cause the boat to go out of control on autopilot or veer off course. There's that, and there's our feedback sensor. So the only, so we need to lock that. The only thing left is the other side of this little drag link has a nut underneath of it, and I need to tighten that, which locks it in. There's some slots that allow in-out positioning for that, and I need to lock that in.